Now, when we think about that self-development, I want to just speak for a moment about self-talk, okay? So, self-talk, of course, is the way that we speak to ourselves. So, for example, if you feel like there's so much to learn here, you might have an internal narrative that says, "Oh my gosh, this is so much. I'm never going to learn all this. I'm in over my head. I never should have come here. I'm a mistake. They probably shouldn't have even taken me," right? That's one way of thinking about this and talking about this. But a different way of thinking about it and talking about it would be to say, "Well, of course there's a lot here for me to learn, just like everybody else, but I'm going to simply stay in the game here. I'm going to do the best that I can. And I know that eventually I will get this, just the way that I've gotten everything else in my life that I have put my mind to." So, what I just explained to you there is actually a technique called thought replacement in psychology. So, when you start to notice yourself going into that, kind of an old monologue of unproductive ways of talking to yourself, you need to make sure that you override that thought with something that's going to be more productive. Now, one of the things, it's almost like a saving grace of negative self-talk, is that it tends to be a little bit repetitive. We tend to have the same things that we say to ourselves over and over again, like a kind of a go-to phrase. And if you know that you have go-to phrases that are, what we call maladaptive, meaning they're like overly harsh, then the silver lining to that is that you can in advance prepare what you are going to say instead. So, for example, you'll be able to review this tape if you want steal or borrow take, I encourage you to take any of the self-talk ideas that I gave to you here. The idea again is just to normalize and to say, well, good for me, I'm totally aware of the areas I need to learn, and just like I've done with everything else in life, I'm going to keep working on this and applying myself to this, and until I get it. And it might take years, but I will get there. Now, the thing about the self-talk that I want you guys to understand as well is that it is not Pollyanna talk, right? It is not, "I am the smartest, most capable person, and I am the master of this material," right? It's not like these, quote, positive affirmations. So I was a yoga teacher before I became a clinical psychologist decades ago. So I have nothing against, like these affirmations that tend to be somewhat more aspirational. But the difference with what we're talking about here is that the self-talk should be 100% true in this moment, right? So that's why I have this picture of this man here, is you can see that it looks like he's giving some real talk. He's, kind of really being specific and laying something on the line there, but he's also being respectful and, friendly, right? So we don't want to take that caustic self-talk of, "I'm such an idiot. I'll never learn all of this. This is way too much." We don't want to take that and replace it with, again, something like fantastical, like, "I am the greatest genius lawyer that ever existed." We want to find that really good, true, happy middle ground sweet spot of, "I'm an intelligent person. I'm a hardworking person. I've done hard things before. And of course, I don't know everything here. I'm smart enough to have made a list of the things I need to learn. And that's exactly what I'm going to do." So that would be like an override for yourself when you find yourself lapsing into, any kind of negative, unproductive self-talk. Another, kind of rule of thumb as you're thinking about, what would be appropriate self-talk is to ask yourself, is this something I would say to a friend, to a good friend who can handle real talk? We don't, say mean stuff to our friends, but we also don't, just say flowery false stuff to our good friends. We give them real talk. So you can think about, is this something I would say to a friend? So again, we want to think about self-coaching is basically what that is looking at ourselves during some of those very, very tough moments And almost like if you've ever worked with a personal trainer that kind of stands on top of you and says, "No, you're not done yet. You got to go." But they say, "I know you have it in you. I know you can do it." Right. And that's the kind of tone that we're trying to take with ourselves.